Okay. So what is he saying here? And it's easy to get lost in the nuance and subtleties and the various waves, and not see the forest because of the trees, or the ocean because of the waves. So what he's saying is this: the Maimon deals with the most basic question possible, or issue possible, and that's the kavan of the bria. And the intent of the bria is did b'tachtonim. Now the subtle point here is that the emes is there's already choshech l'mayla. The kavan is choshech l'mayla. Now till now explained that the choshech l'mayla, which is bria relatively speaking, relative to us, and keser even more so, that choshech is a virtuous choshech. It's called choshech because it's completely bottled to godliness. And a great deal of elaboration went into explaining that, particularly when it came to keser. So now we conclude the point he's saying. Because if that's a virtuous choshech, then surely it doesn't even merit consideration in terms of the kavan of B'riyas Ha'olam. The kavan of B'riyas Ha'olam is tachten choshech in the literal sense, where God's concealed. So this whole explanation was that it's choshech in the virtuous sense. So it should not be at all even in the equation for fulfilling the divine intent, which is revelation in the lowest place. It just shares the same word as our choshech, but it's a different kind of choshech. What he's saying now on Eisavav is no, it is a tachten. It is a tachten. But, as he goes on to say, not enough. David still wants the ultimate tachten. That's the point we just learned yesterday. How is it a tachten? Even keser, after the whole arichas of ois hey, but keser is oir and dovok in the mo'ir and all the miles of oir of a shefa and all of the nuance. And the last point of ois hey was even that it's objectively, keser is objectively expressive of the truth of the divine, not merely because it's an agent to create. And the two mashalim we gave yesterday, of the two officers and within the nefesh rotzen, as we explained yesterday. Notwithstanding all of this maila, it shares the same name choshech, not with our choshech of this world, complete darkness, godliness is eclipsed. It shares the same name because it shares something in common in terms of darkness. This is after having explained its maila, now the chsaron. What's the chsaron of keser? The chsaron of keser is that it's oir. And for oir to emerge from the essence, there is this tzimtzum, this concealment. Because God is not a luminary, or he's not a creator. Hashem is not a creator. It's not what he does for a living. It's what he chose to do. And chose means tzimtzum. It's a descent from his essential state to become creator. Creator means manifesting to be a luminary, to produce light, energy, which will create and produce Seder Shtalshalos and everything else. So that's a descent. That's essentially what he's saying. That's taka choshech. Choshech / tzimtzum descent. I think we spoke about this. In the words of the Rambam, Motzoi Rishon, the first being. The words the Rambam uses, being first, this all implies other beings. That's not the essence of Hashem's essential state, to be a first primal being. That already admits that there'll be other beings. He's number one. And moreover, a being is the same term we use to describe every other being, motzoi. So Taka, that's a descent. A Hayom Adreg is Eina Motzri. He's beyond beingness. Close brackets, just to use the Rambam's language in the light, in the Rebbe's lens, in the light of the Rebbe's explanation of the Rambam. It's extraordinary Farbrengen of 1975. At any rate, back to our discussion. Let's again, so easy to get lost. Let's get the overall train. We've established that the divine desire is he wants a did betachtonim. Again, it's not why creation, it's what the purpose is. Why do you need a purpose? Fundamentally unquestionable and unanswerable, as we've explained without repeating that. But what's the purpose? So the purpose is he wants a dir betachtonim. So the whole Maimon we want to explain, Tachten means cheshech. Well, there's cheshech l'mayla. Till now, the explanation was that cheshech l'mayla is a virtuous cheshech. It's a virtuous darkness, no attention to itself. Like the officer in yesterday's marshal, that his entire being says king. He's no stidder to the king. He's going to be around even without being given a mission to do, because he expresses the king. That's the point of the end of previous Oisei, that Kesed is Dovok. It's not just Dovok because through Kesed, which is the divine will, there's the agenda to create, even if there wouldn't mean agenda to create. The divine will expresses that there's an Eibishter uncompromisingly. Nonetheless, here's the point. This whole idea that something is expressing it, that's a tzimtzum. Expressing it, revealing it, who, what, where, huge tzimtzum. That's a profound shift from the exclusivity of there's nothing else than Hashem. Now we're talking about him being revealed and known, bottled, beautiful. But it's already something else. It's light, it's revelation. That's what we're talking about, revelation. So therefore he says that Kesed therefore is cheshech, dear friends. Till now he spoke, it's cheshech because of its bittul. But objectively it's cheshech because taka. It's a tzimtzum. It's a tzimtzum. We were talking about God being revealed. That's already a tzimtzum. Meaning to say that's already a compromise from his essential ein oid milvadoi. There is nothing other and there cannot be anything other. And now by divine desire, there is other on the most sublime level. The king's officer, that is in time, you look at him, you see the king. But you still look at him, still someone saying there's a king. Kesser says there's a king. That's all it says. Complete bottle, dovuk in the moyer, and all of the milas we spoke about in Oisei. But someone's saying that. So if there's someone saying that, there's a header, in the words of the Maimer, for this light to emerge. There's this header in between. Header means this fundamental concealment of what? What's being concealed now to produce the light? What's being concealed, this is the simplest and fundamental truth of all. There's nothing other than God. And there can't be light or revelation because there's nothing, nowhere or no thing to be revealed in or to. So as we've said over the years, over and over again, that the most radical thing that God did in creating the world, the most radical thing is the Oyer itself, is the infinite light, it's Kesser. For our purposes, is all one. That there should be this notion of light, of revelation, the notion of revelation. There's really no other creation there. That comes way down. But there's conceptually room for it. As soon as you say revelation, you've already opened the floodgate to something, someone else. Then it's just a question of degree. It's some greater, more self, further, more distant, more independent. They've already allowed for otherness, not independence, but otherness that's connected. All of its mileage, but still other. There's Kesser, there's the will. Kesser is God's will. Will, that's a descriptive term. It's we have will, for God's sakes. So this is a decision that David made. That's the head of the tzimtzum, to conceal, eclipse his essential beyond will, beyond description, beyond. There's no language anymore, and give rise to a will and an agenda and revelation. So therefore what? Therefore he wants to do the bedachtoinim. Hey, Kesser is a tachten, a choshech. There's a head, there's a great tzimtzum before. And the answer is, it is, but not enough for him. Because since Kesser still says, despite its subtle independence, there's only God, like the officer whose whole identity is the king, it's not enough cheshech. He wants cheshech, ultimate cheshech, where he's completely denied and ignored, and before that rebelled against, and that's this world. In Be'emes says, this is what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, in Perek Lamed Vav, in 2 words. You know what I'm talking about? So Perek Lamed Vav is one of, in one sense, it is the most iconic chapter of Tanya, because that's where Alter Rebbe introduces and addresses and lays bare the kavan of Dirib Tachtonim. It's the big revolution, is chapter 36 of Tanya. Maybe the bigger revolution is chapter 2 of Tanya. The neshama is a part of the Eibishter. That's huge. Part of God. That's, what does that mean? It's 2 big revolutions. Neshama is a part of the Eibishter, chapter 2 and 36. The kavan is this world. I mean, the whole Tanya is a revolution, really. The whole Tanya, we can be in control of ourselves, Beinani in the kavan. So what does he say in chapter 36? He says there that the intent of creation cannot be the upper worlds. Words ring. Because the higher worlds are a descent from his luminous countenance. He uses the words he uses the word already there. So it's not so clear in Tanya, but here it's laid bare. Alter Rebbe doesn't speak about Atzmos the way the Rebbe does and Samach Vav does and the Rabbi afterwards, because he didn't get there yet. It's an evolution. The Rebbe begins the dialogue, the discussion, pulling back the curtains on Hashem's essential being, and then now Rebbe, it's the final curtain, the final mask came off. No one addresses the very essence of God, of reality, like the Rebbe does, as the final articulation of the deepest and simplest and essential truth before Mashiach comes. Now it's words, we'll experience it. But it's hinted to that. That's what he's saying today. He just says that, here's the words there. We cannot say that the Kavana is the highest world because that's a descent for him. That's what he's explaining here. And Kesser, with all of it's a descent. I'm not saying the same thing is there, it's a different point there, but they share this in common. That Kesser is a descent. But not enough. Since he's looking for, his desire is descent, he wants the ultimate cheshech. Not just a cheshech where there's an other that screams his godliness. It's a big descent from Atzmos. There's a will, there's that officer that in the metaphoric sense, that is, his entire being is allegiance to the king and he has nothing else, but there's still an officer. Problem with that officer is doesn't carry out the divine intent because he's a good boy and he's completely nullified. The Eibishter wants to create bad boys, and this bad boy should scream there's an Eibishter. That's what he wants. That's us. That's what he goes on to say now. Okay, page Kuf Nun Tes, in the middle of a Habir Bazeh.
We're in 17, but just point out where the Ha'ara is, near 43, how far 43 or etc.
Yeah, so we'll start again, Vabir. Let's start the second paragraph. So notwithstanding, he said in Oisvav, beginning of Oisvav, laid out like what he's going to explain now in the explanation of Vabir Bazeh. And he said that Kasser is Chayshech. However, there's also literal Chayshech, our world. And the Kavan is our world. Now, what's coming now, Vabir Bazeh, is because till now we explained Chayshech of Kasser virtuously. What's the comparison to the unvirtuous real concealment of Chayshech that defines our world? That is explaining now in this explanation. Because Kesser, at the end of the day, the divine will is a chosen divine attribute, which in order to do that, God eclipses, in terms of revelation, his essential self that's beyond will, description, beyond everything, to produce Keser. So it is a cheshech, and it shares, therefore, the property of concealment, like our world does. But, as he goes on to say, not enough. It's a concealment that acknowledges, says that the Eibush is the truth. Again, like that officer. Well, the example we gave, not the example, the parallel in the soul is will. Do you remember what I explained yesterday? We have to understand it the way it is in the nefesh, because if we don't understand it the way it is in ourselves, then we're missing something the way it is up there, because we are made in his image. So will, what we're identifying is to explain, what I'm doing is explaining the end of Moishe right now. Will, there's two dimensions to the will. There's the agenda of the will, and then the pure will itself. The agenda of the will is you want to do something, you want to be rich, whatever you want to do. Nothing stands in the way of will, and it's a tremendous expression of the soul. But the point about will is that even if there's no agenda to the will, it's still expressive of the energy, the power of the soul. That's what he said before, that Kesed is dovuk, not only because it's a means by which to create, but it's dovuk be'emes. It expresses the truth of God. Will expresses the truth, the power of the soul, the depth of the soul, even if there's no agenda to the will. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, it's still an attribute. It's an attribute, and in order to produce it, there's a tzimtzum, there's a header. So it is a real cheshech. Are we clear? It's a cheshech. But let's now get the flow of it. What he's saying now is, in contrast to what we said till now in the Maimer, the cheshech of Keser was the opposite of the cheshech of our world. Our world, cheshech, because it's a dark, terrible place. The cheshech of Keser, it's bittul. It has no identity unto itself other than to express his truth. A virtuous darkness, non-expressive of self per se. The will says that there is a nefesh here that wants, it's all the will says. Doesn't call attention to its own virtue, as it were. Like the officer, his entire being is the king. Whether he's sent on a mission or not, it's the same thing. You look at him, you see king. Now he's going to say, no, there's a real cheshech here, friends, that it shares in common with us, with our world. And that's because even the loftiest revelations, Kesser, we're talking about the divine will, and it's called cheshech, not only because it's beyond us, that's in the third aspect. It's dark because we can, it's beyond our ken. But we spoke about it being cheshech virtuously because of their bittul. Harigam now is going to say, it's a cheshech in the sense that it shares in common with our cheshech. The fact that it's called cheshech means cheshech means the emergence of something, of an identity that is bottle, that is cheshech. That means that the source of it has to be eclipsed for the emergence of this new nullified expression. And in other words, again, for oir to be produced, which we're calling cheshech, yashes cheshech Yisrael, it's God eclipses his essence. Are we clear? He's not a creator. Oir starts the process of creator. That's a decision to eclipse his essential beyond creator being and become or descend or manifest onto the plane of creator. The words of the Rambam, to emerge and manifest himself as the Motzei Rishon. So that's in Yishal Tzimtzum, Shari Kol in Yishal Gilui Oir, because every revelation, Gam Gilui Erayos Naila, even the loftiest, his Galusei Lachari Kedimas in Yishal Tzimtzum, its revelation has to be after first the concealment of the essential source. And what's the result, therefore? What's being revealed now? Not the essence, but a revelation of him. Hell in brackets, what kind of revelation? One that screams, Eibish, Eibish, Eibish. Very good, but still a revelation. This revelation is so one with him and so expressive him, we call it virtuously choshech because of its bittul. But now the flip side is it's choshech because it's a new metzius. There's something else. There's something else on the most sublime level. There's something else.
So he's negating the whole concept of the previous ICS that Oyer is not a Maila. He's not negating. He's saying Hagam, the Oyer is David B'Moyer. Nevertheless, it's Oyer.
Yeah, it's other. It's other. It's simple. If you say the word light, you're saying revelation. The next question is to whom exactly or where? Oh, I mean there's space or other where revelation with a light. Light is projection by definition. And projection means to something outside the essential self, essence. Oh, there's something else? Yeah, that's mean there must have been for that to happen, a tremendous tzimtzum, a tremendous decision of God to eclipse, to conceal his essential being, which is exclusive and does not allow for anything else. Period. Doesn't allow for light. How he can do all this? He's God.
The language of Simpson then is a bit confusing because the Kessler is going to say Lifnei Simpson, essentially, right?
Well,
or could be in.
It depends. It's all else is relative, but yes, the word tzimtzum here is meant in the broader sense, not the tzimtzum of the oir, but the concealment of the essence. Even though, if we're going to detail, there's the etzem oir and this dargis, so we could dissect that, unpack that, but there's no reason to do that. The Maimon doesn't. What?
But it's all about etzem Hashem, right? It's not about
what's not?
Everything the Simpson we're talking about here is everything other than Atzmos.
But the effect is Atzmos being concealed and the allowance for the emergence of otherness. So the Tzimtzum, because it's in Atzmos, Chas v'Shalom, not in Atzmos. Okay, but I don't want to get confusing it. The dargis of the Chayuli and the Rotzen, there's all kinds of dargis. But overall, to make it simple, it is God's decision to have a decision. There's a decision to have a decision, and the decision is to create a world, and that's going to mean to create, and that's going to mean that his presence will not be known. That's the tzimtzum. And the very first step is he's going to reveal an infinite light, which is then going to be the force to create, etc. So this light, he's saying the oil comes as a result of tzimtzum. It doesn't mean it in the usual sense, like you said, but bemis it is because there's dargis in the oil before. But, okay, I hope we're not getting confused by all of this. We just said no, that's not critical. So continuing now, and just like the choshech of the nothingness of Ayin. What's the nothingness of Ayin of Kesed? Kesed is nothing. It says Eibish, that's all it says. Lagabe Yesh Amiti, relative to the true being, the Eibish. So likewise, the choshech, this is all a lofty level. Here we're already starting with real creation. The end of this created process here of Yeshes, not the Yesh Amiti, the Yeshes of creation. So the conclusion of that is what? This physical world. But it starts with the Legaba Elam Atzilus, but nonetheless, Bria is called bottle. Bria is called Choshech relative to Atzilus, because Atzilus is Maloshin Etzli V'Samach. Atzilus is relative to Bria, the divine, close and near. As it's all relative. Bria, he's saying this, Keser to Yesh Amiti is like Bria to Atzilus. Point you said before. And now again explaining Atzilus and as he said before that Atzilus is he and his and he and his Kelim are all one, and it's through Atzilus, namely Malchus, that Atzilus God creates. Shari zeh rak bekoich, shezeh rak bekoich mahus v'atzmusa shalom ma'itz baruch hu shmitzut shalom atzmusa. In order to create again, invested in Atzilus, even in Malchut Atzilus is the very essence. Nonetheless, this is all. Keser and Atzilus is a great tzimtzum. It's still a great tzimtzum from Atzmos, but it doesn't satisfy his desire of Dira B'tachtonim. It's not tzimtzum enough. So he's saying, notwithstanding all of the mile of Keser, the mile of Bria, why it's called Choshech virtuously, which was explained all at length. The point is, it's still a tzimtzum from his very essence. So it's already choshech, and it shares, therefore, that choshech property that our world has, choshech in the downside of choshech. So why can't that the dira be in Keser, the dira be in Bria? Answer is, you want it darker. Lili Nishmas Leonard Cohen. He deserves it. However, given it's not enough. Since the world of Bria, it's not completely chayshech. There's a lot of good there. The good of Ilma Bria is it's bottled Tatzilus, and the Bria is the Bria gewaltig gestiegen. Bria is Gan Eden Alien. Yes. Gan Eden Alien. So it's a Rubai Toiv. What's the miyutara? The miyutara, there's this very subtle sense of self, but the whole world is there. They're sitting there and enjoying and basking in the divine glory and understanding. So it's not dark enough. And a little bit of the ra there that exists in Bria, it does not compromise the toiv. The toiv is good. So sorry, that's not the ultimate tzimtzum. Getting there, but it's still too goody. What's the expression? Two shoes. That's how it goes. No idea what that means. Maybe someone will tell me one day. Goody, two shoes. So that's not what he wants. It's what he created, because it's a stepping stone to get to Elam Hazeh. But that's not what the kavan is. Where is the absolute tzimtzum, as if we have to be told? It's only in this world, this physical world. Physical is one thing, but then there's chumris. Chumris is a step lower than physical. Chumris literally means, it means matter. It means matter. It also means chaim. It also means like serious matter, like things protecting its turf and stay out of my way. Gashmius is there's some harmony in Gashmius. In Chumrius there's no Gashmius. A chamoyer, a donkey. Why is it called a donkey? Because he won't budge. There's no room. He wants to stay, he stays. And don't occupy my space. So that's Elam Hazeh. It's not just Gashmius, but Chumrius. Chumrius means everybody defending their turf. And even worse than that, I want your place too. I want your space. There's nothing lower than that. Binyan Hester Yizborech in terms of concealment. This is the emes of Choshech. It's a double and redouble darkness. It's full of klippus of concealment and sitrachre and the other side. That's what he wants. So, yep. At the end of the day now, Oizvav has told us that Keser is Choshech and Bria is also Choshech, but just not Choshech enough. Because there's also revelation there, not also. There's tremendous revelation. And he wants absolute Choshech. That's the desire of Dira B'tachtonim. The Alpi Mashin is barely now comes an important point in light, which we said before. She'ein Kav, the very beginning of the Maimon.
You skipped a couple of lines.
I did? Really? Tell me.
The hegen who amit this betachas at Simpson or the doctor belongs to the commission the doctor Martin of the University early because
I said
I said
that.
Okay, missed it.
Okay. Kapi Mash is barely in light of which is before Shein Kavanas HaTzimtzum Lis Bechinas Choshech VeHelem, the point of the Tzimtzum Chas V'Sholem is not to remain Tzimtzum, not there should be concealment. Elakavon, this was explained in the beginning of the Maimer. Elakavonas HaTzimtzum, what's the point of the Tzimtzum? It's that we finite Sheichne Botei Chomer, as he quoted from Yom Kippur, from Musaf of Yom Kippur, I think. Dwellers of houses, we dwell in houses of Chomer, of the body, of Chomer, of materialism. So the Eibishter wants us to know him. So the whole point of the Tzimtzum is that we, in this physical world, as we are, should know and experience God. He wants to be known even, emphasis not even, it's especially and dafka by us. That's what he wants. A relationship with a human being in a physical body, in a physical world with all of the physical components and the chumbrius and the choshech. Here is where he wants to be. If that's the intent of the whole point of the tzimtzum is what? Because he desires a relationship in the place of the greatest darkness. As a gam hagili godly yoisa, the greater the darkness, the deeper the relationship's going to be. The deeper the investment, the deeper the fulfillment of his desire. Since our world at Godel, it doesn't get greater concealment than here. It's understood it's only here the greatest revelation, the greatest, because that's what he wants, that's what he's chosen. So the place of the greatest darkness is where he's going to be found in the deepest way. And that's the dira. And what that means also is in our personal lives. Not also, the whole point is our personal lives. But I want to say is that even in our personal lives, where we make it darker than even he did, because we sinned. We made it even darker. The world's dark enough. And then we messed up, we made it even darker. So the emes is, that's what he wants. Because in that teshuvah, we're getting even closer and even deeper. And moreover, this is not the subject of the mind, but that speaks about this in other Maimorim at great length. This whole sin business, we didn't ask for it. He set us up. It's all a great and awesome plot. Neira al-lila al-bnei Adam, as David Melech says. And what's the whole point of it? The whole point of it is that in this terrible darkness where you gave up, God says, I didn't. And not only did I not give up on you, we, from this and in there, are going to be the closest possible ever. And that's the point of tshuva, which is higher than the tzaddik, and not just higher, but the tachlis, the kavana, so much so that the tzaddikim got to learn to do tshuva, because if they don't, they miss the whole point. And that is what Mashiach is going to do. It's going to teach this the Zohar, the tzaddikim, to do tshuva, which is a hard lesson to learn for them, because they're so good and nice and sweet. But we'll leave it to him. He'll show him how to do it. We don't need such instruction. Go ahead.
The gili he's talking about here, as I gili who gadol yoser, that's the gili from Mashiach, right?
Yeah.
Not now.
Well, in essence now, throughout the Shuvah now, throughout mitzvahs now, in essence now, we're connecting. But it's like in the words of Chassidus, it's like the depositing in your account. It's in the box, it's there. And we'll just experience what we are connecting to now. It is happening now. The tainug l'mayla nachas ruach is now. And the connection, the relationship is now. The appreciation of the Takabir Mashiach comes. But Chassidus is opening our eyes and already to start to see it and feel it and celebrate it and appreciate what a mitzvah is, what a yid is, what tshuva is. As I said on Shabbos, it's the whole, every Maimah is trying to like, hello. Got to be so besimcha. Look what you do, what you've accomplished. Look what's happening. The Eibishter himself is one with you in the deepest way. In your mitzvah and your ma'aseh b'peil, in this world, and in your tshuva, and look at another Yid and see this, etc. All right, continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.